Law Monday. Here we are getting the countdown to Christmas. I'm Buddy Martin. The program is called The Buddy Martin Show. Glad you could join us tonight. We'll be here for the next hour or so talking about what else, mostly Gators and a lot of college football. And tonight, some basketball. My, oh, my. How about that Gator basketball team? Joining the program will be our usual stunning lineup of guest co-hosts, Shane Matthews. Put up with Matthews in the morning. We'll have Tony Barnhart a little later to discuss the landscaping of the playoffs and the NFL, of course. And the SEC. Franz Beer will be on, and Kevin Brockaway. Talk a little hoops and football. Going to be a good night. Tell your friends and neighbors, Buddy Martin Show's about to be on the air, and we'll be here for a while. Love to hear from you. Put your comments down there. We love to hear those comments, and sometimes we'll respond. You never know. So stand by and tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to Meldon Law Monday, the Buddy Martin Show, along with Shane Matthews, the whole cast of characters and stars. Tonight's program talking what else? The bowl game. It's Friday, maybe not. The playoffs. Yeah, playoffs are here. I'm telling you, we got some homework to do. Maybe Shane can coach us up on those. And also, we've got hoops to talk about. How about those Gators? What a big win. Just looks like a real bona fide basketball team, doesn't it? I'm excited to watch them play. And tomorrow night, got the Tar Heels in the Jumpman Classic. So all that going on. And so let's get to work on what we're doing here tonight. And we'll also later have Franz Beard and Kevin Brockway on the Buddy Martin Show. And now it's time for the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who started the whole thing in Florida, Shane Matthews, number 9. What's up, Shane?
Good evening, Buddy. How you doing?
Why did you pick number 9? Did I ask you that before?
Well, you want the real story?
Yeah.
Well, I wore number 11 in football, baseball, and basketball my entire career from 5 years old till I was a senior in high school. It was a family number. My dad's brother wore it in high school. He wore it. He didn't get to wear it at Ole Miss, but so I wore it. And then when I came to Florida, 11 was retired.
Really? Who had that jersey?
Well, the head ball coach had it retired, or somebody retired it because of him. And so I chose 9. It was just a different number. Nobody really ever wore it. Now everybody wears it. Like, I mean, you used to never see, most quarterbacks wore number 10, 12, 14, 7. And I just thought it was different. So that's why I chose it.
You know the most famous number 9?
Well, it depends on what sport you're referring to.
I think it's period. I think in all sports, most famous number 9 I know.
You're probably not.
They called him 9 when he played. The great Ted Williams was number 9.
Ted Williams, yeah, that's what they call me 9 or 9er. Most people do. So.
Yeah. So pretty good company right there. So Shane, I don't know how you feel. First, let's talk about hoops because I know you're a big fan of hoops. Some people don't realize how big a basketball fan you are. But my goodness gracious, what have they unleashed over there? This basketball team was amazing, and they didn't even play that well and just crushed Arizona State. I was so impressed with that team. I'm telling you, I don't know what the ceiling is on this team, Shane.
Well, they're very talented. They got a lot of good pieces to the puzzle. You got maybe one of the best players, if not the best player in America, and Walter Clayton Jr. But they play well as a team, and I wouldn't say they've played a real tough schedule so far. North Carolina's not the normal North Carolina. They've lost, I think, 3 or 4 games, but they've lost to some good teams. But look, it's going to be tough once we get into SEC play. But this team has a chance to make a deep run. They got a chance to win it all. I mean, I know that sounds crazy.
They do. You're absolutely right. They do have
a lot of things can happen. I mean, you got to get fortunate to win that many games through the course of a tournament. But we sit back because it's going to be a bloodbath week in and week out in the SEC. It's such a tough league, and should be fun.
Somebody said they could get 12 teams in the tournament.
Yeah, I think they will get at least 12, maybe more.
Wow, that's amazing. And Shane, I just like the way they play the game, the fire they have. They keep the pedal to the metal. They play unbelievable defense. Their shot blocking, offensive rebound is just so good. I don't know. Do you have a favorite player besides Clayton that you like to watch play?
I mean, I was a guard, so I love watching guard play. Elijah Martin's brought a different element to the team coming over from FAU. He's a Mississippi kid.
Is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's from Mississippi. He was a really good high school quarterback, actually. But I like Walter Clayton Jr. a lot. I've said this. I see him at the golf course out at UF all the time, and he's as good as athlete as we've ever had on campus, in my opinion.
Really?
We all know he had an opportunity to play football in college, didn't, chose basketball, but his golf swing is, I don't know what his hand, I don't talk to him. I just see him on a couple of holes. Now, he hasn't been out there now, but this was like in the summertime.
Right.
But he's just he's what they call, I used to argue with my strength coaches all the time about being a great athlete or being athletic, right? There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that jump high and run fast, they're athletic. That don't mean they're a great athlete.
Yeah.
A great athlete is one who can excel or is good at multiple things. And Walter Clayton is that guy.
You think a decathlete is a great athlete? Is that what you're talking about? That kind of guy?
I think a guy who can play multiple sports and excel in them all. That's why I used to argue with the strength coaches when I was in the National Football League. I was like, I'm the best athlete on the team, and I will prove it. Let's go play golf. Let's play tennis. Let's go bowling. Let's play ping pong. Let's go shoot 3-pointers. Let's do all that. You want me to come in here and I had a decent vertical, but jump and lift weights and run the 40. That's athletic. That's not being a great athlete.
Was your dad real athletic?
He was pretty athletic. Yeah.
Did you get most of your skill from your mom?
No, she was a teacher. She's smart. No, I got it from my dad. I was lucky. I mean, I love football and basketball and baseball were my 2 sports growing up.
Yeah.
And then played it all till I came here, and I love it all. I mean, these kids that just specialize, I do not understand it, and I think it's stupid.
Hey, the guy I love to watch play is Alex Condon.
Yeah, plays hard.
And play. He's got a good touch for a big man. He handles good. He's good on his feet. He's got some moves. He's muscle. He can go in there and board anybody. He leaps high, goes, plays hard. That guy's fun to watch. I can't wait to watch him grow up before our eyes and see how good he can be. And with a team like that, boy, he's something else. All right, let's shift the gears. It is football time after all. And we do have a little football going on. Shane, the playoffs kind of hit me like, okay, I thought I'll be ready for it. The fact is, I'm not ready to go. I don't know that much about these teams, Shane, to be able to sit down and think about it. I started doing the homework on them and reading stuff about them, whatever. I'm thinking, I do like obviously a couple of games a lot, and as I know we will the first round. But hey, Friday night is on, and here we go. And we've talked about what teams might have its best chance to win, and so on and so forth. But I guess the game has got our attention most of all. I think it's going to be Tennessee, Ohio State, and justifiably 7-8. Tennessee traveling to Columbus, playing Ohio State. Ohio State is a 7-point favorite in that game. You agree with that?
Probably not. I think Tennessee has a chance to win as long as their quarterback doesn't make a bunch of mistakes and just completes a few passes. He's the one guy I think holding Tennessee back. You know, they got an All-American at the tailback position and a pretty salty defense. I think they can win at Ohio State.
All right, so we went through and picked these before, and I think we kind of know where we stand. Just to go over it again, you got to remind yourself the games: Notre Dame, number 10 Indiana, and South Bend, which seems almost unfair. Then Saturday, SMU travels to Beaver Stadium to play Penn State. Penn State's an 8.5-point favorite in that game. Might like me a little underdog in that, just for a little taste of that. Clemson plays number 5 Texas in Austin. Then, of course, Tennessee at Columbus. I love the on-campus a lot, but is it unfair?
Is it unfair?
Is it too much of an advantage for one team?
Well, it's kind of your reward. I like it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think Clemson's going to give Texas all they want, quite honestly. I think Texas will win, but I think I'm picking one upset. Well, I'm picking Tennessee to beat Ohio State, so I guess that's an upset. And I think Penn State's going to lose. Mm-hmm. I just don't trust James Franklin winning any big games, and I think SMU has tremendous speed on their football team, and I'm going to pick the Mustangs to win.
Okay. That'd be a nice, interesting game. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about these playoffs yet. I thought I did, but I don't. Maybe I thought it'd be something. I'm not what I was expecting, but it doesn't have me as ramped up as I thought it might be, And maybe that's because Florida's not in them. But anyway, the point is that it's here. Hopefully it's what we wanted. And here we go. Florida, meanwhile, playing in a bowl game. One of our guys wrote today in our online on Gator Media. If you're not a member, you ought to sign up for it, GatorBaitMedia.com, that bowl games are no big deal anymore. Only games that count are the 6 playoff games. I'm not sure I agree with that, Shane. Do you?
No, I don't agree with that. I think I love the bowl games. I think it's gives you something to watch. It also it's a reward for a lot of players. I think the people that say that bowl games don't matter, I don't know why they say that, quite honestly, because a lot of these teams had good seasons, and they're going to get to go spend a week, or 3 or 4 or 5 days in these different cities around the country, get to do things that some kids will never do in their entire lives. And they get a bunch of good stuff, and it's a reward. And, there's only a handful of teams that get to make the playoffs. The other people need to be rewarded somehow.
Well, if Florida gets a chance to make their year right, I mean, you've said this many times before. We were talking during the year as things began to fade for Billy Napier. You said if he gets to 7 or 8 wins, he's coach of the year, and I don't think we go quite that far, but man, this is just a program turnaround of the first order for Billy. And it's just couldn't have gone better, except the portal is open and now it's starting to change, Shane. And how fast can it change? Alabama has had like 14 players. You had the portal and their defensive back. I can't pronounce his name, Mbappe, I think you kind of pronounce it. And then they haven't so far gotten a single guy out of the portal. What's he doing there?
Who?
Alabama.
Would you say what's who doing in the portal?
Alabama has had 14 guys leave.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
They haven't gotten one guy out of the portal so far.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of teams that haven't been haven't really actually signed anybody. I know LSU signed a bunch. Ole Miss has signed a bunch. A few others, but it'll start happening here soon. But yeah, I mean, Alabama's losing guys. I know Georgia's losing a couple. I mean, Texas, I saw they're losing somebody. Penn State's losing their backup quarterback who plays a lot in there. He's like a dual threat guy. He actually plays in their games, and he is in the portal and not playing in the playoffs. So that's just where we are today.
Yeah, it is where we are. And I don't know. Nobody seems to agree with me. I think Pyburn was a loss going to LSU, especially helping them out over there. He must have gotten a little bit of a cash. I don't fault him for it. There was an interesting story over the weekend where we've all talked about, he's been trashed for being a traitor and big kids from Bowles and had a Gator family and whatever. And then he went to the portal. A lot of people thought he was betrayed the Gators. And so there's been some talk about that. But on Thursday, Billy Napier came out and made a strong statement. He said he really shouldn't be talking about it, but he said, I love Jack Pyburn. He's like my son. So he must not have felt betrayed. I don't know. So something happened there. Maybe it was, just as you said, Shane, a matter of money.
I think there's no loyalty in college athletics anymore. Nobody will change my mind about that. And Billy I believe Billy Napier, everything he says, he loves the kid like his own son, but it's a business. If the player thinks he needs to be paid this and the coach or whoever's in charge says, no, this is our plan. We're sticking to it.
Call Tony Barnhart.
It is what it is. And, like I said, they got the dollar amounts are slotted for certain players or for positions. And Jack Pyburn's he's a good football player, but he's not a great player. He's not a game changer. And maybe they have a game changer in the future at that position. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would trust the people doing the evaluations.
Yeah. Big evaluations is what it's all about. We've got a guy who can evaluate the SEC pretty well for us. After this commercial break, we'll be joined by Tony Barnhart, give his take on this weekend's games and see what he thinks about the portal and generally speaking about college football. Stand by while we go ahead. Tony, tell you about our sponsor of this program, of course, at Meldon Law. They do it right. They're big sponsors of lots of things. They're the official injury law firm of University of Florida. They have offices accessible to you. We're in the north central Florida area. You've got Ocala, Gainesville, Williston, Lake City. I just had them on the phone last week working through a legal matter. Couldn't be more pleased with what they do. They get right on it and they help you out. So I suggest if you have a lawsuit that's under review and you're not happy with it, call them up and see if they can help you fix it. They'll be glad to do that, among other things. They, of course, are known for their loyal support as Gators. Jeffrey Melton, always trying to get a better deal for the Gators, especially the Gator Band. Meldon Law, they won't back down. And neither will this guy who is back on the scene tonight, Tony Barnhart. Good evening, Tony. Say hello to Shane.
All right, it's always good to see Shane. All I can say, fellas, it was a very, very fast season, and we knew it would be with everything going on with the NIL transfer portal, 12-team playoff. We stayed really, really busy, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, everybody wants to pick apart the playoffs, and they should. There's some things to be fixed. Of all the things, Tony, that you've seen going on, what bothers you the most about the current system?
Yeah. Boise State's not supposed to be the number 3 seed in the tournament. Okay. Nowhere should Arizona State be. The teams they didn't pick the 12 best teams. They took care of the conference champions as they said they were going to do. And you got guys, and when you got seeding like that, it throws the entire bracket out of whack. So it will get kind of hairy once the tournament starts, but it's still going to be fun. I mean, think about New Year's Day when we've got three bowl games, three playoff games, all together. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we got them this weekend, right after the Friday night game, and then we got to, because it's going to be fun to do that. You're breaking up a little for some reason, Tony. You don't know what's going on, if it's on our end or yours. But give me some people are talking about the draw that Oregon got, so they should have had an easier path since they were undefeated. Did you take a look at that, Oregon?
I'm sorry, what are you talking to me?
I am, Tony. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Some people say Oregon kind of got screwed in there. They should have gotten a better draw.
Yeah, because you get the number 9 seed when you're one. You know you're going to play the 8 versus 9 winner. That's not what's unusual. What's unusual is that 8-9 winner got to be Boise State and Arizona State, and those teams just weren't seeded correctly.
Yeah,
and that's something we pay a lot of attention to in basketball. That you've got to seed those the way they should come out, and so that will be. I can promise you that will be a big point of emphasis as we move on to next year, and we start seeding these teams.
And really, what you're saying is it was out of whack several weeks ago, right?
Sure. Yeah, it was when they started moving those seeds, the Boise State, and the Arizona State put in there, that was going to be a problem from day one. And so, but you learn that's why you do these things. You learn, and let's see if they make a change next year, or do they just go with what we have now? That will be interesting. We definitely will change in 2026. I can promise you that. Will they make that change next year?
Yeah.
Could be.
Shane, they kind of had to placate everybody by getting a group of 5 in, making sure all those other teams had a fair opportunity, a fair shot to get in. And doing so, did they weaken the hand of the SEC somewhat, Shane?
Well, I like the conference champ getting in, but I think once you figure out who the conference champs are, they need to reseed them that way. Look, I think when you look at the 3 SEC teams that are left off, I think they all deserve to get in: Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Alabama. I think if we're sitting at 16 teams, those 3 teams probably get in, but there's still somebody complaining. We'll see how it all plays out, but I agree with Tony. The Boise State should not be a 3 seed. I don't know how that all worked out like that. Yeah. But I do like one group of 5 team getting in if they're a good team. I think Boise's a good team. We'll see how they pan out. But I would have loved to have seen Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Alabama also get in, honestly.
It does seem like that flavor is missing. I mean, Alabama's just won so many championships in recent years. We're just used to seeing them in there, Tony. And I'm sure people on Ole Miss feel the same way about it, what have you. But
go ahead. The rule of thumb there is don't get beat on November 23rd.
Yeah, by unranked teams.
I mean, you're going to drop, so you got to protect yourself, and that was just a situation where you picked a bad time to lose, and it just didn't work out.
Tony, you think conference championships have been devalued to a point where they might consider not having them?
No, I don't think so, buddy. No, I thought it was kind of neat when they present the conference championship trophy. It's kind of like, well, whatever. But in this situation, they were getting something. They were getting the top seed. All that stuff was coming their way. So yeah. I think in that sense it was good. But we got to figure out the seeding when all is said and done.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, Shane and Tony. I'm not feeling the juice right now in this playoff. And I thought I'd be amped up as a guy who's been wanting this for a long time. I don't know why that is. Maybe I will when they start. But you guys feel the same thing?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited about the playoff because we're gonna have people going home. Okay, they're one and they're done in some cases. So I think games like Texas and Clemson, or Clemson is going home. Okay, and that's what makes it so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me talk to you both about something that seems to be happening these days, and I'm not sure it's not a good thing. Some of these coaches on the bubble are on the hot seat about to get fired. They're restructuring contracts and giving money back or shuffling money around.
Mm.
I don't know exactly what Billy Napier did and what Jimmy Sexton did with his contract. I'll go to my grave thinking somehow that hard number of whatever millions it was, what was it, 22? I can't remember. Was
22 million.
yeah, softened somewhat. And somehow there was an agreement made, I don't know, in principle to, if they kept him another year and gave him a contract, to change that. Whatever he did, it worked. Now I see the guy who had the roughest season I can remember in a long time, going from where he did to the bottom of the pile, like Norvell, and suddenly now he has got a new lease on life. And I'm reading today he gave $4 million back supposedly to the program. Tony, what do you think about that?
I think it is recognized that this is all you're going to have to do something dramatic to keep these coaches going, because we knew what we had, buddy, was not going to sustain itself. It was not going to. You just can't. And so I think the coaches are smart. They're working with their agent. They're basically reinvesting in the program. If it buys you another 2 or 3 years, then that benefits it off. But yeah, I think they're going to figure out a way to get into that to that time and figure it out.
Shane, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a crazy world we're in now.
Yeah.
You know, I sit here and coaches love to coach football. You know, you look at Dan Mullen. He had a great gig on TV, making good money, and obviously made a lot of money from us. Why in the world would you go to UNLV in today's world? But coaches love to coach, right? They can't get it out of their blood. But then there's some coaches, and I don't know, Dave Clawson, who stepped down at Wake Forest. He's done a phenomenal job there. But Wake Forest probably can't compete. And he's probably like, look, I'm tired of beating my head against the wall in this NIL, and we're losing out on good players, or our good players are leaving for more money somewhere else. I don't know the situation. I'm just assuming that's what it is. I don't know how any of these guys can deal with what's going on right now until we get it all figured out and get some rules in place where at least it's run like the NFL, where you have a free agency during this period. You can transfer maybe one time. The transferring every year just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I think you need to at least be penalized after you have one free transfer, but that's just my thoughts.
No, that makes sense. It really does, and I'd love it if they could put in a rule to where you could only transfer once a year. But we've already been told by the legal profession that you can't do that unless you give the same deal to the coaches. So.
Yeah, it seems like it's not set up fairly for schools like Wake Forest to compete. It just seems like this. There are going to be some teams, I think, that will just finally decide they can't do this. It's too expensive. And I think we'll have the haves and the have-nots. And I'm not going to say we're going to go back to Division 1 and 2, but my original concept, Shane and Tony, was that ultimately your top 35, 45 teams will probably be the ones playing for all the money games. And I think while you've got a path for the Group 5 to get there, it's not for the little guys. It's for the big guys and the money machine. And they're the ones who drive the money machine, which is just working overtime. So I can see that happening. Back to Dan Mullen. Why would he take? Well, I think Shane answered it because coaches always like to say singers like to sing, writers like to write, and coaches want to coach. I get it, but I was a little shocked that Dan took the UNLV job, and I asked Urban about it. He didn't have much to say. How do you all see that shaping up? Why did he do that?
Well, I think he knows if he's going to get back into coaching, he needs to go ahead and do it. Once you're out, just coaches I talked to said, 1 is the magic number. If you go to 2, that is a real problem. And plus, you've got a program there that Coach Oldham has already built, and so you're not starting from ground zero. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
Shane, other than that he wanted to coach.
Well, that's the only thing I can think of. I mean,
right.
It's just when you got it in your blood, man, it's hard to get it out. It's just like, that's when you're a competitor. There's different ways you can get those competitive juices flowing. And I agree with Tony. I mean, Barry Odom's done a phenomenal job at UNLV. And I mean, heck, they played, I think, for their championship the last 2 years against Boise. And
right.
I think Dan will do a fine job out there.
Yeah. I guess he just want to coach. Well, maybe he will. I know he wants to get back and prove that he could do better than what he's done in recent years, for sure. Let me bring this guy in here with us real fast. I want to ask you a question about a rumor I've heard and see if it makes any sense. France Beard, senior columnist for Gator Bait, joins the program again. Good to see you, big guy. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm honored. I mean, I'm in the presence of one of my true legends, Tony Barnhart.
I thought you were going to say me.
Well, you goes without speaking, but Tony is, to me, Georgia Southern's most famous graduate.
He is. I'll tell a story real quick. I'll get back to other stuff. But Tom Schmidt's a guy that worked for me for 6 or 7 years. You remember him, friends, in Ocala. He played football at Georgia Southern. And he got to go to his first SEC championship game. We did a broadcast from there. And we walked in and we saw all these famous writers around. There were, Tony Barnhart's of the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we saw other writers. And he said, I only want to meet one guy. I said, who? He said, Tony Barnhart. He's my hero. Because he's a Georgia Southern guy, of course. What else? And that day, it made his whole week. He got to meet Tony Barnhart. And we got to have him on the show tonight, Tony. Guys,
please tell him I said hello.
Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
I said, please tell him I said hello if you're going to have him on the show.
I haven't talked to him in a while. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to know that you said hello. All right, we're going to lose Shane in a minute here, and he's probably going to get his milk and cookies and doze off to sleep and whatever. But before we do that, I want to do a little roundtable discussion about if we can get a retake and reset on where the Florida Gators are at this point. And Shane and fans had a good call this morning about life as a Gator being really good right now. We won't get into the basketball side of this just yet because that's good too. But this team appears on the way back and on the way up, and there is a good feeling about it. Things are going their way, and yet you think about it, they could lose this game in Tulane, and Shane, that would start going the other way. How fragile is that?
Well, obviously, you want to go into the all season with a feel good moment, and you got an opportunity to win 8 games, which is truly remarkable the way the season started, and got a lot of good young players supposedly coming back. As the portal's still open. We haven't made any additions to the portal yet, hoping that possibly will happen. But you got DJ coming back. You got a lot of young players. I think people will be excited. I think, I said this on my show. I think all summer long in the Southeastern Conference, I think a lot of talk is going to be about Florida and South Carolina, kind of the way that they ended the season. Still have a long ways to go to get to Georgia, Alabama, that tier, Texas. But I think those 2 teams will get a lot of conversation throughout the summer.
I agree. And we've been kind of myopic about Florida. But boy, what a job Beamer did, Tony. And I didn't buy into it at first. So he's got those kids playing great football. And they were as good a team as it was in the SEC at the end. I wondered if this is a real deal. What do you think?
I keep going back to the preseason meetings in Dallas when Shane got up there and said, Shane Beamer, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Beamer got in there and said, "Hey, you guys, meaning the media, we are better than you think we are. Okay, and we're gonna have a pretty good season."
Yeah.
So they ended up winning 9 games and having a great finish. And so I think they'll be very, very excited when we get to preseason media days in Dallas.
Friends, their young quarterback really looks impressive, although there's some rumors about him maybe going to the portal. What have you heard about that?
I haven't heard that he's ready to go into the portal, but I can tell you this much: the folks at Clemson would be very, very happy if they never have to see him again. I've never seen so many people bounce off of one guy, at least since Tommy Frazier was running for a touchdown against Florida in 1995. I mean, my goodness, this guy is just. He is what everybody thought KJ Jefferson would be like at Arkansas. Only this guy seems to be able to sustain it. I think he's a better prospect overall than what Jefferson was, and if he goes in the portal, he's going to be highly desired.
I'll say. Tony, before I let you go, and thanks for joining, I'm going to let Shane go get his cookies and milk too. What do you think this weekend? What Shane's giving us his picks. What do you got going? What do you think?
Well, let's take a look. We got Clemson and Texas. I like Texas in this game. Although their quarterback has been playing well, I think Texas has overall more athletes, and so I think they're going to win. Best game on the board all weekend will be Tennessee and Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like this Tennessee team, and I like them to beat Ohio State.
7 points too. They got 7 points.
Well, I'm picking Penn State over SMU. I mean, they had a nice comeback in the championship game, but I still think they are lacking when it comes to talent. Notre Dame, Indiana will not be close. Okay, Notre Dame is really good, and they're just going to run the ball and pound on people and just let it go at that. So I like Notre Dame to win comfortably in that game.
Cignetti's had a great year, but I think it's over. I'm with you on that. I think it's.
Hey, Tony, you forgot the 2 most important games of all. One of which is Georgia Southern and Sam Houston, and the other one is North Dakota State, South Dakota State. I mean that's the D1AA championship game being played in the quarterfinals.
That is always a great game when those 2 schools line up. So I don't know who's got what, but I bet you it'll be very entertaining.
I thought he was going
to say. Have you got the Eagles?
Eagles, yeah, absolutely.
I thought he was going to say the Gasparilla Bowl, Shane, but I guess that was going to bring it. All right, thanks a lot, Tony. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
Guys, have a good Christmas.
Thanks,
See you, Tony.
Talk to you in the morning, Shane, and on the What Up with Matthews. All right.
All right, y'all have a good night. See you, friend.
Right.
Take care.
Friends, hang in there, friends, and we'll do this.
I don't know where Buddy is, so I guess I better take over for myself. Elvis has not left the building, but I'm here. Uh, I hope everybody can hear me while we're waiting on Buddy. There
Got
we
you.
are.
I clicked
I,
everybody
I
off
was,
here. I clicked myself off as well. Thank you, France. Appreciate you filling
uh,
in. Did a good job. Yeah.
well, all I got in was about 2 sentences because I kept waiting. I didn't know if you were on and I was off or what.
Okay. Yeah, I will go ahead and finish up with Brinstar, and then we're going to tell you about our fine sponsor, who's got a new title, new copy here about later on after the show. But Brinstar, of course, is known for taking care of our health in Calamari County area. They want to encourage you to take part in some of their clinical trials because there they get the real nitty gritty on what we need to do to treat our health. They get great stuff. They want local people to be involved in that. And they'd like you to click on their website, rinstar.net. If there's a clinical trial going on, usually things like asthma, diabetes, all kinds of things, you could take part in, and no cost to you. You might get special investigational medicines or even equipment and take part in that and help them out and getting more information about our health in North Central Florida to the people who do these things. So check them out today. Rinstar Medical Research seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. And I think we got to go get our friend Kevin Brockway, who's standing by. There he is. What's up, Kev? How you doing?
How you guys doing? Good to see you both. Glad to see you made it back, buddy. I was a little concerned about you there for a second.
Yeah, I dropped off the face of the earth there for a moment. I let the other guys go, and I went with them. Well, good to talk to you, Kevin. I want to get you guys engaged in a really good basketball conversation.
Okay.
We may have been seeing something special here. We may have just seen something special. I know I saw what you guys both wrote, and I watched the game, and I couldn't believe my eyes sometimes. How good can they be? And I heard you both say something that basically there's no limit to it, Kevin.
Yeah, there is no limit, but I do think that Arizona State I thought was an interesting test because you got an 8-1 team, right? And you get up by 29 points in the second half. And what they're really doing a nice job of this year is, continue to be a much improved defensive team and turning defense into offense, right? 20 points off turnovers in that game, which was impressive. And so now you go to North Carolina. It's not Chapel Hill, but it's Charlotte, which is pretty much a, home away from home for UNC. And there'll be a ton of Tar Heel fans there. It's a blue blood program, just the way it is. So I think this will present another nice test in terms of a road environment, even though it's not technically a road game, but FSU was. But this is going to be 17, 18, 19,000 fans, bearing down on you. How are you going to handle a little bit of adversity in this game? I'll be curious to see.
Well, it looked awfully good. I want you to talk for a minute, Franz, about the ability of this team to come off the bench with what the powers they got. They got their so-called 6 starter, and they can play 10 guys strong. How the depth could come into play later on as they get toward March, Franz. How deep are they?
Well, in practical terms, right now they're an 8-team. They're an 8-man rotation. I think they're planning to. I think they're capable of going to 10. They want Clavsar to develop, but his defense isn't there yet, and I think that's affecting his offense. And I really do. I've watched the kid shoot, and he's a tremendous shooter. But I've seen that happen too many times before when a kid, Trey Mann as a freshman, let the fact that he couldn't play any defense at all his freshman year affect him offensively. And his second year, when his defense was there, his offense was so much better. And I think that's going to be the case. That's the case here with this young man. But I think that Isaiah Brown is also capable of being a guy. They really like him a lot. And I think he's the same way. His defense isn't to where the other 8 guys are playing it. These first 8 guys are playing defense at a very high level. I think they're the best playing defense, better than any Florida team I've seen since Mike White in 2017 made it to the Elite 8. And that was a really good defensive team. And I think these guys are playing at that level, maybe even better because they've got depth up front that they didn't have in 2017. Because if you remember in 2017, if the big Nigerian kid doesn't go down, Florida very well makes the Final Four if they'd had him. So this is the best I've seen them. Great four-man rotation up front. And my gosh, I don't know too many teams that can play four guys on the perimeter as well as these guys can.
Kevin, I know what you like better: their shot blocking ability and ability to run, or just their offensive rebounding. Man, oh man, this team can rip the boards, rip the glass, and they can dominate teams.
Yeah, I think Buddy Todd Golden has really prioritized rebounding the last 2 years. After his first year and what he inherited, he saw that was a glaring weakness, and he's turned it into a major strength on both sides of the ball. And I've always said, because I go back to those Noah Horford Brewer teams, in 05, 06, 06, and 07. You give me a team that can get second chance points and limit teams to one shot. You're going to win a lot of basketball games. And that's what this team really does. You can see the teams the last 2 years have really done a good job. And, Alexis had really good rebounding numbers from Chattanooga. Chinyelu, the same thing at Washington. I mean, it's just something that Todd prioritizes. So, you got to give him credit and how he builds his teams that way. He likes playing, 3-2 instead of, 1-4. Which I like too. I like having a little bit of physicality, size, and size. And North Carolina is one of those teams. You look at their size. They've got a 6'8" center and they got 4 guards playing. I mean, Florida could really hammer the boards in this game. This could really be a big strength for them in their matchup tomorrow.
What will this mean, Kevin and friends, if they go in there and blow out North Carolina tomorrow night?
Well, I think Carolina is as blue blood as it gets. And even though it's a down year in Carolina folks will be the first ones to tell you, we don't rebuild, we reload. Well, this is a reloading year, and they may have to reload more than they have in recent years, but it's still Carolina. And people see that you beat them. They don't pay attention to the fact that maybe it wasn't the best Carolina team of all. They look at the fact that you beat them. It's kind of like beating Kentucky. Kentucky could be having an average year, but if you beat Kentucky, it's a big deal.
I agree. And, obviously, coming from covering from Indiana for a few years, I know what those blue blood programs are like. And I know when it goes bad at one of those blue blood programs, how frustrated the fans can get. Hey, this is a North Carolina team. I mean, they still return RJ Davis, who's ACC Player of the Year, All-American. He's a very dangerous guy, 6 foot, can create his own shot. If Florida can't blow him out, it would be a statement. I have a feeling that North Carolina, obviously going through some of the struggles that they've gone to a non-conference schedule, I think they're going to come out and really play with some desperation here. So it's going to be important, I think, for Florida to kind of match that intensity a little bit. But Davis can be a problem. I think that's something you've got to concern yourself with in this matchup as well.
And, of course, there's the elephant in the room, and that's the matter to deal with on Todd Golden. One of the other shoe will drop if it, in fact, will. How this team is able to block that out, which so far they've done really good. Somebody's coaching them up. I don't know who. Probably a couple of the assistant coaches. They got their focus until it becomes a factor in the media and things start coming out, what have you. It would be a shame to see a season like this ruined by that. How will they be able to contain this, Kevin? How long will they be able to do it? And what do you see as a turning point for that?
Yeah, I think, Buddy, you keep hearing that some kind of resolution comes soon. It has not yet, but I do think that, in terms of the focus of this team, they haven't let it really affect them or bother them. It is partly a credit to them that you do have this kind of cloud hanging over. And, maybe even a credit even to Todd as well in terms of how he's handling it. It's obviously a situation that was obviously, there are accusations out there centering on him, and that he's going to have to deal with down the road. And he's, been cooperating with the investigation. But that has not let anything bleed into the court, and they're off to this great start, and I think it's a testament to a lot of people, players and coaches and staff, that they've managed to stay the course through it.
Buddy, I'll tell you what an NBA scout told me when Florida was playing Wake Forest, and I had a couple of them sitting beside me, and he said, I've known Todd for a long time, and he said, he doesn't act like a guilty man at all. He said he acts like a confident guy that knows he's okay. We got into the discussion about that. Now, do I know that that's true? I don't, but I can tell you what somebody else who knows him says. And I have to agree with one thing, and that is he is not at all, if he's a guilty party, he's doing a pretty good job of putting that in the rear view or whatever, like that, in the side pocket, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And moving on.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge all that stuff, but it's something that will be talked about behind closed doors for sure. Hopefully they can contain it enough to get the basketball season underway and get the postseason going. Let's switch for a second to football, okay? How about the Tulane Green Wave? They started out great. They lost to Kansas State, 34-27, and among other teams. But the fact is that this team is probably, as you said in your column today, Franz, probably not up to this task against Florida. But you got to be careful you don't get bitten in the butt by somebody like this, Franz.
Well, I think Florida's biggest problem is going into the game overconfident. If Florida goes into the game laissez-faire, overconfident, whatever you want to call it, then it's going to be a problem for the Gators. I think that happened 2 years ago. In fact, when they played UCF, I think Florida went into that game, which was a game Florida should have won handily. And the Gators went into that game. Mullen had been, the Mullen had been fired. They in disarray, but even so, they should have won that football game. And UCF just ran all over them because Florida came with the wrong attitude. It's still football, and Vanderbilt beats Alabama. Is it because Vanderbilt's better, or is it because Alabama said it's Vanderbilt? I mean, what do we got to worry about? If the Gators show up focused, they win it handily. They're 13.5-point favorites.
Yeah, Kevin, the transfer portal's open. They've had a couple of losses. I mentioned 3 of them that I thought were significant. I hated to see Mortingham go, but I'm sure they can probably cover his tracks. Although people don't think that we making much of it, I thought Pyburn was a big loss. If that's all they lose, I guess they'll be okay. What's your assessment of the football team, how Napier's held it together? We don't know yet about National Signing Day, the final, and all that sort of stuff. Where are they now in terms of acquisition of talent right now, Kevin?
Yeah, well, Billy mentioned, I think in a press conference today, that he doesn't anticipate any more attrition, but, you just never really know. I mean, they got a punter so far, right, from Michigan. Wow. That's been about it. It's been a little quiet on that front, and I know some fans are grumbling about it, but it's, one of those situations, buddy, where I think they're going to be players shuttling in and out, and they've just got to continue to grind at it. You would think, the DJ Lagway effect, right? That you will be able to attract some quality receivers. And maybe you just have to kind of trust Billy and the staff and their ability to evaluate offensive players, which has been pretty good. I would say better than on the defensive side of the ball, that they've been able to attract some really good offensive talent. So I still think that, it's kind of a wait and see mode there, but I would be, certainly not ready to, jump off a ledge yet on this. Give it a little time. The portal's open till the 28th. And then, players can sign after that, up until the beginning of the semester on January 6th.
Yeah. So,
buddy, I'll tell you why there's no reason to panic right now. Today, John Mateer decided he's going to Oklahoma. Now, people here on the West Coast, on the East Coast, don't know who he is, but he's a big-time quarterback out of Washington State who threw for 29 touchdown passes this year, and he's going to Oklahoma. That's a big-time thing. Nobody even knew he was in the portal, and all of a sudden it's announced that he's in the portal, and an hour later it's announced that he is going to Oklahoma. So there's an awful lot of this that's going on. Guys who are just finishing exams and they're not going into the portal until they finish their exams, etc. Things like that. And guys getting in touch with agents. There's so many things that factor into this these days. So you got guys who are going to be, you're going to see more guys in the portal. Right now they're at like about, I think, 1,800, 1,900 guys that are in the portal. They estimate there'll be 3,500 by December 28th. So there's still going to be players, and you got to give Billy credit. He really did well in the portal this past year, and he's done it the last couple. Picking up DK, picking up Badger. I mean, goodness, there are guys like that are out there, and he's done a pretty good job so far of picking good guys in the portal.
What about one thing? It's quick. Damian George was in the portal and out of the portal before he even got his feet wet. So it's happened so quickly. So final thing, guys, real quick. We hear rumblings about staff changes, coaches, whatever. And I know, friends, you and I have talked about some of these off the record. What do we see, Kevin? Do you see any staff changes coming for Billy?
I think that, we saw one, right? Austin Armstrong is gone. Right. So, and Charlie Strong kind of visited over the weekend. He poked his face in the facility. And
now that's out there.
Yeah. That's interesting. Maybe another reunion. I saw he didn't even work last year, but he was an Alabama defensive analyst. And he was down at Miami. And you could do much worse coaching linebackers and helping out and being a voice in Ron Roberts here. But I think that certainly is going to be interesting to monitor to see how they fill that position for sure. And I'm still of the belief that Billy's not going to hire an offensive coordinator because we were talking about this last year.
Yeah, I agree.
But we will see. You never know. You know what I mean? But this is it's kind of like the same thing that people read into Scott Strickland's comments. It's the same thing that they said that they're going to spend all this money from Billy's buyout as if it magically would transfer to the transfer portal.
Well, I think money is money.
That's not happening.
I agree, though, Kevin, that money's money. I mean, however you spend it, money's still money. Don't go out of the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with thinking that way. We saw Norvell today give $4 million back to the program.
Oh yeah.
As if he did that voluntarily.
Sure. Yeah, your nose just got longer when you said that too. But I mean, it is something that is employed by agents. Guys in trouble, give a little money back, make a little compromise. It could work. And then if you do get money back, you do have more money. Anyway, we can go on for it. Guys, thank you. Great job tonight, Kevin. Thank you so much, Franz. Another terrific performance. And we'll be reading. Franz, can you come on with us for 5 minutes tomorrow night after the basketball game and tell us about the jump man and what happens?
Well, I certainly can. If you feel like having me on, then gosh, you're willing to bore these people worse than I thought you did, buddy.
I want to have you on, but I have no choice.
France has great perspective of North Carolina basketball. Trust me, he knows.
Yes, he does.
He knows where all the bodies are buried in that state.
There you go.
Well, let me put it this way: there's a couple of them up there, but all you got to do is go back to a guy named Frank McGuire Frank McGuire not only knew where all the bodies were buried in North Carolina, but the ones in South Carolina and New York too.
Very part of it.
But I got to tell you this: if you ever met Frank McGuire, and I had the opportunity to spend time with him when he was down at South Carolina, I'm not kidding you. You would, if Frank McGuire looked at you today and said, "You got 100,000," and Buddy, of course, that's just pocket change for Buddy, and Buddy would say, "Sure." He'd say, "Will you give it to me?" You'd give it to him. Frank was like that. If Frank could, even Buddy with all his millions would give away 100,000 just like that.
I just made it. By the way, he owes me 100,000 from last time I talked to him. All right, guys.
Frank could charm anybody, which is why he knows where all the bodies are buried.
Any Frank McGuire stories for sure. My friend Bill Madden was in school back in those days. All right. Thank you, friends. Thank you, Kevin. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Appreciate you guys and what you bring to the program. All right.
No worries.
All right, folks. And we'll wrap it up tonight by saying, thanking our sponsors. I want to tell you about a new sponsor that we have. And actually, it's an old sponsor, but it's new and old. And I want to tell you the name of it, and you'll know it. Titan MRI. Now, Titan MRI is known as Titan MRI and Imaging, and they're been acquired by High Field MRI. Joe Colorio started High Field MRI in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and Imaging now has 3 locations to serve you: 2 in Gainesville, with its Park Avenue location now at the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia and County and Valdosta, and soon to come to Ocala. Titan MRI and Imaging now accepts insurance through their convenient self-pay options. Also, as well, they offer MRI, CT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings, weekends, large MRI machines for patient comfort. No emergency rooms, no hospitals. Go a place like this and they'll take care of it. Coming soon to Ocala, but it'll serve Marion County, surrounding areas. Titan MRI, it's now your choice. It is now called something different. It's the same bunch of folks, but the company is Titan MRI and Imaging. Thanks, folks. Thanks for our sponsors. Thanks for our fine cast tonight. Good show. Starting off with Shane Matthews, Tony Barnhart, Franz Beard, and Kevin Broccoli. They know a lot about ball. Good to have them on the program. I'll be hosting tomorrow night. Lauren Meadows will be out. He's going to be up the jump man, and I'll be hosting. I'll have bringing back our old friend. Yeah, we'll be a familiar face you'll be seeing tomorrow night. You'll be sure and tune in for that. We'll have our usual friends. Brendan Martin will join me in the program along with Rob Brown. And so we want to invite you to join us, see who our special return guest is. All right. So appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. We're here Monday through Friday and sometimes more. Don't forget tomorrow morning, Shane Matthews, Pod Up with Matthews. I'll be joining him right here on this channel. Thank you. Good night.